One set of sanctions we're looking at, and then one warning from the United States here in Washington this morning. The first one, the set of sanctions, as you said, is about election interference by Russia, something that the intelligence agencies here in the United States already during the Obama administration had concluded, that Russia had interfered in the 2016 presidential election and that it had one favorite, and that was Donald Trump, and that it wanted to make sure that Hillary Clinton would not be elected president of the United States. This is the first time we see really strong action from the United States on this front. So 19 individuals and entities sanctioned altogether. The individuals, as you said, they include those 13. It's pretty much a carbon copy of an indictment from Robert Mueller, the special counsel who is looking into election interference by Russia, and also is looking into whether there was collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian intelligence agencies. But other than those individuals, also sanctioned are two main Russian intelligence agencies. So this goes all the way to the top. Also sanctioned is something called the Internet Research Agency, which has been making headlines over the last few months. This is an organization that is responsible and is certainly accused by the United States and many other places of producing fake news during the election cycle and also trying to get Donald Trump elected, something that was, of course, successful in the end. The White House, though, of course, still insists that even though there was meddling, this didn't change the outcome of the actual presidential election. That's the first part of this story. The second part, as you also just mentioned, is this warning from the United States, from the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, that the Russians did hack the energy sector, the energy grid here in the United States, and individual private energy companies. An attack that is ongoing, according to the United States, or at the very least, they warned the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, that is, those energy companies, that further attacks could be coming. There are no sanctions, though, that were made in conjunction with that announcement. The sanctions today all have to do with alleged interference in the U.S. presidential election in 2016. A pretty strong move from this administration, considering that it hasn't been very strong on this matter since Donald Trump was elected.
Yes, Philip, indeed, you say Trump has been accused in the past of almost turning a blind eye to Russian covert activity in the UK. Do these measures today show that he is now taking the threat from Russia perhaps more seriously?
Well, on paper, they certainly do. These are serious sanctions, and they are for the reason that has been given by the U.S. intelligence agencies for over a year now. But it is absolutely true that this is a president who's been very reluctant to say tough words to Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, and hasn't made any significant moves, really, when it comes to Russian election meddling. And according to the head of the NSA, there are further attempts by the Russians to influence the other elections coming up here in the United States, including the next midterm elections in November of this year. Now, the reason why we're talking about Donald Trump's reluctance to do anything is because of what he said in the past. He said he had doubts as to whether the Russians were actually responsible for this, even though the intelligence agencies had come to that very clear conclusion. Then the U.S. president has insisted that even though there might have been an attempt at meddling, this still did not change the outcome of the election. What we're seeing here today are all sorts of moves from the United States when it comes to Russia. For example, the US has now joined other countries, including the United Kingdom, in saying that it believes Russia is responsible for the poisoning of a former Russian spy in the United Kingdom. Though we've also heard from the US president on this today, not as forceful as the statement we have from the United States. Because what Donald Trump says is this: it looks like the Russians were behind it. This is a further case of the president seemingly reluctant to directly criticize the Russian government and its president.